I'm Judy Cardwell from Nitamita, and with Belinda Pearce, who's hiding somewhere, we've been the organisers of this rally, and we're so pleased to have such a great... I know most of you have been up at 4 o'clock this morning and travelled a long, long way to get here, and it just shows how concerned we all are. So it's really, really heartening. And to hear from the politicians that it does make a difference if we do come personally and stand on the steps here. We were a bit unsure about whether we'd have an impact, but we just hope this message gets through and there are serious looks at this very poor legislation. We pay a licence fee to use the land as part of our farm, and we have to adhere to strict rules to retain it. Firstly, we have to indemnify the Crown in respect of any claim or liability for property damage and or injury or death to any person. This means that we bear all the legal liability. This may be possible to a degree when we have control over who is on our land, but under this new law we will have no control whatsoever. Anyone will be able to enter without permission, identification or registration. There will be no restriction on numbers, and campers are allowed to stay for up to 28 days. But as no one is checking them in, they can virtually stay for as long as they like. Could farmers have the same reciprocal rights if they came to Melbourne? I don't think so. Licensed frontages adjoin farmers' freehold land with no fence between, and therefore is there no way of campers knowing when they're trespassing. Campers can camp up to 100 metres from the landholder's home. They can bring caravans, vehicles, boats, dogs and other animals. They can drive all over the pasture and set up caravans anywhere, 20 metres from the river, though no one is checking, so they could be much closer. They can collect the equivalent of 3 wheelbarrow loads of firewood per day per person, despite the fact that licensees are not allowed to collect wood themselves. They can light campfires anywhere, even in summer, and in areas that will have long dry grass, perfect to start the next catastrophic bushfire. Frontages are run as part of the farm, which is a workplace and potentially a dangerous one with livestock and machinery. Where else would uninvited people be able to enter a workplace, let alone camp on it? These frontages have a grazing licence. That means livestock are grazing there. Campers would soon destroy any grass for grazing, and the potential for accidents with livestock and campers is huge. Farmers have to abide by strict biosecurity rules or risk losing their accreditation to sell livestock, and therefore their livelihood, if unrestricted, unregulated vehicle and camping access goes ahead. We know people are travelling all around Australia. Car tyres are the perfect vehicle for carrying seeds and spreading weeds. We also know that dogs, people, food scraps and rubbish all pose a biosecurity risk. There are no toilets on licensed frontages, and people will be digging holes and burying feces, leaving toilet paper everywhere. Feces and grey water are potential disease carriers for livestock and pollutants of waterways. Farmers often pump water for stock and domestic supply from the river. They pay for this and it needs to be clean. Campers will take their water for free. There are no ablution blocks, so grey water will go on the frontage or directly into the river. With unlimited camping along Victoria's waterways, there's a grave risk of pollution and degradation of the fragile riverbanks. Many farmers, as we've heard, have fenced off and revegetated riverbanks that provide corridors for our native animals, and these are at risk of being damaged. With unlimited numbers of campers staying for extended periods on frontages, what will happen to our native animals? And particularly as most of them are nocturnal, and they will have to deal with campers with lights on, music blaring, you name it. They won't have any rest at all. The Victorian Fisheries Authority and the recreational fishers are the ones who are pushing this, but how will they ensure good behaviour? They're going to have an online education program. Who's going to take notice of this? How do farmers get help if there is poor behaviour? Campfires escaping, gates left open, animals escaping, dogs chasing stock, wild drunken parties 100 metres from your house, trees being chainsawed down for firewood, broken bottles and rubbish left everywhere. On our bus trip down, we had everyone have a word about what they had happened to them, and all of these things were brought to our notice in some terrible instances. The BFA say that they will have a 24-hour hotline, 13 Fish, where you can report problems and they will be triaged. We are often talking remote areas, ours from a call centre in Melbourne, and one that often doesn't even have mobile coverage. How will help possibly be available? How will overstretched DELP officers possibly be able to police non-compliance issues? In rural areas, police help is often hours away. We all know that the regulations will simply not be enforced. So who will bear the brunt of this? The farmers will end up being the police, the firefighters, garbage collectors, and they will bear any costs for lost stock, damaged fences, burnt out property. They will also bear the public liability if a branch drops on a camper or a cow charges and injures a child while protecting her calf. And now we learn from many insurance companies that they do not want to provide public liability cover if these recreational activities take place on a farm workplace. Farmers are only 2% of the population, and yet we provide all the food that you eat. Farmers are hard workers in all weather conditions, and they have to contend with droughts, floods, fires, mouse plagues, disease outbreaks, price fluctuations for our commodities, political decisions affecting our markets. Give us a break and at least let us retain control of our workplace. Is the production of food more important than recreation? I'm sure people would think so if there was none to be had in the supermarkets. There are many unlicensed crown frontages that DELP and Parks Victoria could, with sensitivity to the environment, develop for camping, but at present they are poorly maintained due to a lack of proper resourcing. There needs to be designated campsites with toilets, fire pits with wood supply, garbage bins frequently empty, proper access roads, and all within mobile coverage. This is the place for campers, not grazing licensed land. Thank you all very much. Thank you to the BFF for supporting us so well. Thank you to Melina Barr for helping us organise this rally. She's been a great supporter. And thank you, Melina. And thank you to everyone who is going to push on and make sure that these regulations do not allow camping on licensed frontages.